The cemetery, Mount Moriah, was incorporated by the state legislature in 1855. So it's been here a very long time. It started out with 54 acres over there to the right and developed into what we think is 380 acres at one point. But because it's flanked by the Fairmount Park, also it did cross the parkway, so there's some acreage loss. So we think we're around 200 acres at this point, but it's just a necessary place to respect those who are buried from the community, from all over this country who are buried here. We have so many veterans, over 5,000 veterans. We have the Civil War plot. We have 2 national cemeteries that sit within Mount Moriah Cemetery. So it's a wonderful green space for the community, that they can not only enjoy the green space, such as how it was formed as a rural cemetery, following the Parisian model, so that people would come out for the day on Sunday from the downtown area and just picnic. That was why these cemeteries were formed. It was really a business model, because the churchyard cemeteries, they sold the churches, but they had to remove the dead or disinter the dead from the graveyards. So they brought them out to what's Mount Moriah, the Woodlands at 40th and Woodland Avenue, and to Laurel Hill. These were the rural cemeteries. So families would leave the downtown area and come out for the day on Sunday and picnic right at the gravesite of their loved ones. They'd bring food and blanket and spend the day. The kids would run around. So we're trying to bring that sort of scenario back to the community. This is a welcoming green space to enjoy, to learn history, to learn about families, to learn what went on in the country.
Dirk Edmiston. I am part of the Friends of Mount Moriah. We're here today to help my brother and I are here today help cleaning up on this side of the cemetery, the Philadelphia side, our paternal great-grandparents. And in that grave are great-grandparents and their children, which would be my great-uncles, great-aunts, and so forth. On the other side of the cemetery, the Yaden side, or Delaware County side, we have numerous great-grandparents and other family members as well, buried over there in about 3 different plots. So we've been here many times. Today we're here just helping to clean up.
Hi, I'm Brenda Hunsberger. I belong to the Friends of the Mount Moriah Cemetery. I started here about 2 years ago when I realized that, I've known for years that my great-grandparents are buried here, and I became interested in coming down to this cemetery to see what it was like. And around that time, 2 years ago, this was being closed by the owners, and I met Paulette and just started coming down here and helping out by cutting grass. While I was coming down here, I realized then that I also had my 3rd great-grandparents and their children all buried here, and since then found out approximately 25 of my ancestors are buried here at other family branches. So I always had a real deep affection for this place, and it's just gotten better and better by coming down here. In 2 years, what a difference this has been, to see the care and love by a lot of the people that have been coming down here and donating their time. It really warms your heart to be able to do that. And knowing that I had family that used to walk this same ground and come here and bury their loved ones after they passed on. And that's mainly the real reason I come down here. My husband has no one buried here in his family, and he comes down here. He actually comes down here when I don't come down here. He'll take a day off and on a Saturday and just come down and cut grass, even if I can't make it that day. And he has no one of his ancestors buried here. He just feels a real need to come down here to do that, just to give back to the community.
My name is Crystal Runrick, and I'm here to volunteer with MLK 365 cleaning up Mount Moriah Cemetery today.
And my name is Wayne Rucker, and I do work with the Mayor's Office of Civic Engagement and Volunteer Services, and I'm out here putting in some labor for MLK 365.
I come from East Oak Lane.
Well, most of my family lives in Southwest, and how I found out about it was the email, like she said, through MLK. And I've did previous volunteer work with Elise down at the Mayor's Office of Civic Engagement and Volunteer Services. So I felt that it would be morally correct for me to come out here and put in some labor.
More people need to come out and volunteer?
Yeah, every day, just to maintain you know what I mean, the grounds, you know what I mean?
My name is Teresa Altieri. I have been volunteering here for almost exactly 1 year. This is my 1 year anniversary. Park Day was when I first stepped foot on Mount Moriah Cemetery. I am an archivist, and I was working on a collection for a group called the Military Order of the Loyal Legion of the United States, and they used to own a plot here at the cemetery. And I was talking to my friend about the plot, and she said, that cemetery is a disaster. You have to come out for Park Day and come see what it looks like. So that was the first time I came out here, and I fell in love with the cemetery and come back once a month since.
It's about people knowing the history. As people say, if you don't know your history, you don't know where you're going. So it's always important for the community to be able to associate with history. One of my goals is to bring that to life for the young people in the community, so that when they're in school learning about the Civil War and the various wars, the Spanish-American War, the War of 1812, the American Revolutionary War, these people are buried here. So now they can go to a grave site and research that person's life and know that they had a life. If they survived the war, they went into an industry. So you can research that and bring life to it. So cemeteries really are not just for the dead, they're for the living.
I'm Barbara Saletti, and I'm a living historian. I usually do volunteer work at different historic sites. Mount Moriah has a personal hold for me because family members are buried over on the Yaden side, and my husband's family is also buried over there. So when we came here, it really was in very sad shape. You can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. I mean, even this area here used to look like that area over there. Didn't take us too long to get to clean it out, but finding it was the hard part. We knew that she was in Section 27, but as you can see, it's not easy to find a headstone, so we had to keep going up and down until we finally found her. Now, Mary Brady, who I portray, was a Civil War nurse, and she served the soldiers during the Civil War. She was a woman of Southwest Philadelphia. She did volunteer work at Satterley Hospital, and she saw that the soldiers who were coming in from the different battlefields were just getting the minimum of what they needed to food and clothing and things of that sort, and she felt that it was really necessary to have a woman's touch. So she would go and she would visit. Well, then she told her friends, and they all came along and they were helping out. Finally, she went to her husband, who was a lawyer in Philadelphia, Edward Brady, and she said that she would like to do something more, and he said, whatever you want, dear. So they met at his office. They formed the Soldiers' Aid Society, and with the plan that they were going to deliver home-cooked meals, do sewing, whatever was necessary for the soldiers to make them feel more like they're at home, and they needed a woman's touch. So Mary was very, very dedicated. I mean, she had 7 children, and still she found time to be able to do this work, which was really valuable. One Thanksgiving, she got so many volunteers to cook Thanksgiving meals that they loaded up a couple of wagons and delivered it to Satterley Hospital. She wondered what the hospitals were like in other places, so she went physically to the different battlefield hospitals. She was at Chancellorsville, and she went out to Gettysburg after the battle. So she really wanted to see how everybody was being taken care of. She didn't trust anybody just to do the job. She wanted to make sure that everything that was supposed to be done was done. So she worked and worked and worked. Finally, she dropped of exhaustion. Her doctor advised her, you need to rest some. She rested for a little while. She was right back out again, working again. Eventually, though, it got too much for her. She ended up with a heart infection, and she died at the age of 42. So she literally gave her life in service to the soldiers. So the soldiers were serving their country. Mary was serving the country. by her service to the soldiers. And we like it because where she's buried here with her family, they're all around us. As a matter of fact, you're standing on top of her son. Over behind us is one of the Civil War plots, so she kind of like keeps an eye out.
Coxswain Alexander H. Truitt, he served on the USS Richmond during the Battle of Mobile Bay, and this ship was engaged with the CSS Tennessee, which was an ironclad trying to prevent the Union Navy from coming into Mobile Bay. And that's when he received the Medal of Honor. That action is what he received it for.
My mom and dad came out here in 2003, and my parents were elderly at the time, and I said, "You're going down in that area?" My dad's like, "Well, it's okay once you're in the cemetery." But when he came down here, he said, "Oh, it's not like it was in the old days when he would come here for burials." And I didn't realize then, when my dad said that in 2003, how bad it could happen 8 years later, and it's just amazing. And people using it as a dump. There were a whole truckload of tires I saw leaving here one day. Somebody was just coming in and dumping them on these graves, and I just don't understand how people can do that. And other building materials, they would just go to a section and just dump it. And just litter and everything that people do in here. So it's good that there's this community service that people are kind of trying to take it back and get it great again, like it was.
How long would it take to clean up the cemetery, right? If I had a division of the U.S. Army, it would take one day. If you have volunteers like today, it'll take years. It's just a matter of how much help you get. It really is. So it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take, I think, more than what's being done now, to the credit of people here. But you know, you got to get somebody with machinery in here and the proper stuff to really literally dig in and get this stuff cleaned up. I mean, you could walk through these areas back here that are overgrown and find fascinating graves and monuments and obelisks and things like that are really cool, you know, to have. But someplace you can't even get into them. So I don't know. At this rate, it will take a long time to get this place right. But I think, like everything else in life, you know, until they get the money behind it, they're just going to struggle to keep up, arguably. So.
And how does it make you feel that people were dumping trash here in Mount?
Oh, it's always sad. It's always sad. Part of it is because some people are desensitized to a lot of things, and cemeteries it's you know, just one more thing that they don't think about. There are people who lived here. They don't think much about their lives, let alone the lives of the dead. So it's a learning project for me to let people know that that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable behavior, and we've gotten rid of tons of trash in this process with the help of the city. And we've had some recent dumpings, but it's been minimized quite a bit. So it's been a good endeavor.
Do you blame any certain group of people for the neglect of Mount Moriah?
No, I think there's enough blame to go around, and I'm not about the blaming. I'm about, this is the problem, let's figure out how to solve it. I mean, it's one of those things that everyone had, not everyone, but a lot of people had their fair share of responsibility in maintaining this cemetery, and they did not. So here we are. So now people have volunteered, as you see. Many people come from far and wide because they understand the necessity and the value and the sacredness of a cemetery.